Halfway up the Hudson River, between New York City and Albany, there's a spot that's part city and part town. Roughly 77,000 people call it home, and I'm one of them. It has a story of constant adaptation and growth, a journey through change that stretches back centuries. A place called Poughkeepsie. Before there was a Poughkeepsie, a vast body of water called Lake Albany was left over from the last ice age. Eventually, the Hudson River drained the lake, carving a valley and creating a landscape where communities could flourish. Centuries before European contact, the Algonquin-speaking Wappinger people established a network of villages around what is now Poughkeepsie, making use of the Hudson and nearby streams. They were the dominant indigenous group in the area, with diets shaped by river fishing and woodland hunting. It's said that the name Poughkeepsie comes from the Wappinger phrase "Poughkeepsie Pising," which translates to the reed-covered lodge by the little water place. In 1609, explorer Henry Hudson sailed by, opening up the region to Dutch claims as part of the colony of New Netherland. The river, later named for the man himself, became an important route for Europeans trading with local native hunters. In 1664, the English took control of New Netherland, renaming it New York. Dutchess County was formed in 1683, named after Mary of Modena, the Duchess of York. Settlement soon followed, and by 1687, a Dutchman named Baltus van Cleek arrived and is considered among the first European landholders in the Poughkeepsie area. By 1699, another Dutchman named Mindert van den Bogart established a sawmill at the mouth of the Fallkill River. Early growth was slow, probably due to the rocky forested terrain. However, control of the land gradually shifted to European settlers as diseases wiped out the Wappinger population. A native trail through the area became the King's Highway and later the Albany Post Road. Today, it's pretty much Route 9, and I drive on it to get groceries. In 1714, Bogart's son, Jacobus, donated land for a church and a courthouse, cementing the settlement's role as a center for government and public life. In time, it would become the county seat of Dutchess. During the Revolutionary War, Poughkeepsie served as a shipbuilding center for the Continental Navy, and that's because its location upriver made it less likely the British would attack. It was also a temporary state capital when Kingston was burned in 1777. After the war, the Poughkeepsie Journal was founded, making it New York State's oldest continuously published newspaper. In 1788, the New York State Ratification Convention was held here, with Alexander Hamilton and John Jay among delegates who debated ratifying the new federal constitution. And a decade later, the settlement was incorporated as a village, separating it from the surrounding town of Poughkeepsie. Soon, you'd have Robert Fulton's steamboats zipping along the river, significantly boosting trade and travel. On land, the Dutchess Turnpike was built, extending eastward to Connecticut. And on top of all that, the upstate Erie Canal opened in 1825, having a major impact. Industries like whale rendering, shipping, and paper mills started forming. Poughkeepsie continued to embrace innovation with the coming of the railroad, with a new line that stretched to Albany and beyond. And with all these new connections, the village was ready to become a city. Then, Matthew Vassar, inspired by his niece who taught in Poughkeepsie, founded Vassar College, one of the first institutions for the higher education of women. Meanwhile, other parts of the area were also marked by progress and creativity. The inventor of the telegraph was hanging out over at Locust Grove, and in 1869, a theater opened, and today it's the oldest continuously operating one in the state. Around this time, people were calling Poughkeepsie the sickly city, but it was able to reverse this reputation by opening the first successful slow sand filtration plant in the country for its population of about 20,000. And that was just one of many advances. because you also have glassworks, a hospital offering modern health care, and the 1889 completion of a bridge over the river called the Poughkeepsie Highland Railroad Bridge. Later, unfortunately, a disastrous fire happened on the bridge, leading it to become abandoned. But back in the early 1900s, the Queen City of the Hudson was humming along. It had a couple of libraries and was about to have another college. The Marist brothers established a Catholic seminary in 1905, and it would eventually evolve into Marist College. Poughkeepsie had been known to welcome wave upon wave of immigrants, and around this time, many Italians were showing up, such as my wife's great-grandfather, Gioacchino Fascine, a hard-working bricklayer. The Smith Brothers cough drops factory was chugging along, and a beautiful Beaux-Arts railroad station opened, solidifying Poughkeepsie's role as a major stop on the Hudson. The Arlington neighborhood was growing, and the Nelson House was a prominent hotel where FDR would often give speeches. The Great Depression brought economic hardship, but that didn't stop the building of the Mid-Hudson Bridge, dedicated by Eleanor Roosevelt, and I use it every time I go upstate. During the 30s, people were having fun at the Woodcliff Pleasure Park, and the city's trolley system was replaced by buses. Poughkeepsie remained at the forefront of progress with the coming of IBM, initially producing munitions locally during World War II, but later began producing card punchers and computers. Amid these changes, Poughkeepsie adapted, and the new Dutchess Community College reinforced its quote-unquote City of Schools identity. Then came the arterial highways in the 60s, IBM booming in the 70s and 80s, but downsizing in the 90s, which contributed to a general decline. In the 21st century, there were revitalization efforts in Poughkeepsie's downtown, and the abandoned Poughkeepsie Highland Railroad Bridge reopened as the walkway over the Hudson, and I highly recommend it. I moved to Poughkeepsie in 2017, and I love how it's sort of downstate and upstate at the same time. You're never too far from the city, but you're never too far from the mountains either. And being halfway up the Hudson, I'd say it's just about perfect. Have a good one.